Hey everybody, it's John from TYT talking with John Haltiwanger of Elite Daily, senior politics writer for that site. So you just got in. Obviously the setting it's a chaotic mess and it's a hot mess. So what are you going to be doing here throughout the convention?
I'm going to just try to get a feel for things. Obviously I just arrived yesterday, started walking around today. It's miserably hot. It's way too humid. It feels like you're swimming through the air outside.
Yeah. I was telling someone it smells like a gaming convention in here more than a political convention.
Yeah, everyone's pretty sweaty. Definitely reapplied deodorant several times today already.
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, no, got to be prepared. But you know, unlike the convention in Cleveland, everything is a lot more spread out here. So I've just been trying to get my bearings, see some of the speakers tonight, get caught up on all the news surrounding the DNC leak. Obviously, that's huge and looming over everything that's going on, and just enjoy the show.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about some of the speakers tonight and some of our predictions for the convention as a whole. But first, you brought up the DNC leaks. That's the big news coming into today. And the situation with Debbie Wasserman Schultz has been very turbulent throughout the day. We know that she stepped down, although Hillary's press secretary made clear that she just chose to. She wasn't asked to. So they're really trying to portray it as there has been no effective consequences. She's leaving, but it's just she wanted to move on, and now we're going to bring her on as the honorary chair of our campaign. She's not going to be gaveling in the convention because that would have almost certainly led to booing and maybe a riot. But what do you think about the leaks? Going forward, is this enough consequences that she'll be leaving, or should there be more?
I think, honestly, yeah, they're trying to sweep it under the rug. I found it pretty insulting to the Sanders camp that she was immediately hired by Hillary's campaign. That's majorly insulting to the voters that Hillary's going to need on her side. I think this whole leak really solidified the notion that, yes, from the start, from the get-go, the establishment, the Democratic establishment, was against Bernie Sanders and wanted him out of the way. He was not their candidate. They were not impartial. And throughout this election cycle, a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters have been called paranoid conspiracy theorists because they felt this way. And now we have proof, and they're just kind of like sweeping it under the rug. There's no real punishment, and they're just blaming the Russians.
Yeah.
You know, sure, if it does indeed turn out that the Russian, you know, I think there's evidence already that 2 Russian intelligence agencies were involved. If it does indeed turn out that there was Russian involvement and you know, there's that conspiracy that the Trump campaign was somehow involved, of course that's important. But immediately dismissing the very valid grievances on behalf of the Sanders camp with the impartiality, or with the lack of impartiality rather, I think that's a huge mistake on behalf of Clinton's campaign. And I think that they really need to say, hey, yes, we screwed up. We're sorry. Yeah. We want you on our side now. Trump is a psychopath. We do not want him becoming our president. Let's focus on that. But yes, we screwed up.
Yeah, and they're basically refusing to admit any fault whatsoever. The Russian thing is interesting, and there are a lot of ties with Trump's campaign and Russian oil interests and politicians, but it's effectively yelling squirrel. Like, Russians, just look at the Russian squirrel. Whether the Russians leaked it or not is very interesting, and let's get to that later, I guess. But it's actually true. It actually happened. You need to respond to it. Hillary Clinton said she doesn't know anything about the emails. Here's what she knows about. She knows about the scandal around the emails. And it's ridiculous for her to not be willing to talk about it. I mean, and it's not just that, it definitely does confirm that it's not conspiracy theories, that there was, if not collusion, at least assistance being given. But it makes you sure that the debate schedule, we were right about that. They were manipulating the debate schedule, and the whole Bernie bro thing being planted into the media, like we had confirmation about that from the emails. And you just, on the night when you don't want to feel like all of the negative feelings you were forced to have as a Bernie supporter up until this point were true, now we're supposed to unify? That is horrible timing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some people were thinking after the RNC, look, that was horrible. Trump's speech painted this very apocalyptic picture of the United States. Yes, it was false. It was predicated on complete lies. But I think people saw this is possibly the future of the United States. Okay, fine. I'm not a huge fan of Hillary, but it's way better than this. And then this happens over the weekend, and yeah, it's like a huge slap in the face. It pushes everything backwards. Yeah, the timing is curious. I think we should pay attention to that. But the response from Hillary's campaign and from the DNC in general, I think has been really insufficient. And I can understand why walking up here, I saw a lot of really angry people. Yeah. And this convention feels almost just as angry, if not more so, than the Republican National Convention.
The way I see it, I totally get the anger, and I think that there need to be certain things done to address the anger. Like getting rid of Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a good start.
Yeah.
I would love to see her lose her election. Not that there's any control by the DNC over that, but I would love that just from a personal point of view. And like we've heard that it seems like about 2/3 of the superdelegates are going to be cut. That's going to help address some of the concerns. There's elements that were added to the platform to reassure progressives, and that stuff needs to be done. Now, in terms of whether, like if you didn't think that Trump could possibly become president, if you thought it was an awful thing that can't be allowed, then DNC emails, I can't see how that would change your opinion. It's not like, well, fascism would be bad for America, but I want to teach Debbie Wasserman Schultz a lesson. That doesn't make sense to me, but there are all sorts of other consequences that I could see happening. But looking forward to, let's start with tonight. We've got major speeches, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Michelle Obama. I'm interested to see if maybe she's going to take some lines from Melania's speech.
I hope so.
This time
I think
around.
that's only fair.
And we have Cory Booker as well. So what do you expect to see out of the speeches tonight?
Well, given, I think it could get rocky, given what we saw with Bernie this morning, getting booed as he endorsed Hillary.
They were not having it.
I mean, yeah, and they immediately said, we want Bernie. So obviously, they don't hate him for this. They're disappointed.
Some do, not the
Some
ones
do,
here.
some do.
But online, some do, apparently.
You know, I think everyone is going to try to stand up and say, and this kind of stinks because I didn't want it to be this way. I thought the Republican National Convention was throw Hillary in prison. That was their platform. There was nothing specific policy-wise. Now I think because of the DNC leak, they are forced to just be like, look how insane Trump is. We can't let this happen. We're not going to focus on the specifics of what's good about our platform for the country. And I think that's kind of a mistake, but I don't know if they have any other choice. They have to be like, yes, this isn't good. Yes, there are some very real flaws within our party, but we're a much better option than the alternative.
We're not the apocalypse, basically.
We are not the apocalypse.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah.
And look, I think that they have to do several things simultaneously. I think, one, they're going to try to, especially during Barack Obama's speech, make it clear things are not as bad as the ridiculous fantasy, the teen apocalypse fantasy that Trump was putting forward. They have to also attack Trump. I think you can do that in the he's scary way, but then also in the he's a joke way. I think stressing how much of a failure he's been in a number of different businesses, like you have to undercut that authority that he's given when it comes to business matters. But I do hope that they sell some hope, some idea that things could actually get better, not just a continuation of the status quo, but that things could improve.
We need some hope. I mean, I think when you look at the big picture, you look at the trends in the U.S., with crime, with police, like things that Trump tried to paint as, or with immigration, things that Trump tries to paint as, we're going through hell with all of this right now. We're not going through hell. We live in one of the safest eras ever. Police are a lot safer under the Obama administration than they were under previous administrations. Net migration from Mexico is down. Obama has actually deported more people than any other president in history. That's more of a reflection of the flaws of our immigration system than something to be celebrated. But still,
it is the truth.
But it is the truth, and it's something that Trump is trying to paint a picture of a porous border that people are just flowing across, and they're rapists and they're drug dealers and they're criminals. No, that's not true. And, it was hard not to leave the RNC not feeling very pessimistic, even if you knew that everything he was saying was false. Yes, I think we really need some hope tonight from these speakers. I think we really need to say, hey, things are not so bad in America, and we can make them even better.
Yeah, I hope that they stress that. In terms of Hillary's speech, I really haven't figured out yet exactly what I think she's going to do. There's a couple different ways that she can go. But in terms of, we were talking about the anger amongst the Bernie Sanders supporters, which, by the way, is not some small group. I mean, we're talking about a significant portion of the entirety of the delegates here. So what do you think she can do, and maybe Kaine can do in the night before? What can they do to reassure Sanders supporters that all of the seemingly unnecessary insults thrown at Sanders supporters recently, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz being given that position, that isn't the death of their hopes? What can she give them?
I think when she's been at her best in terms of maybe trying to lure some of these supporters over is saying, I may not be who you want, but I'll still fight for you. And then she needs to outline how she's going to fight for them. She needs to outline her progressive agenda, the ways that perhaps she has shifted more to the left because of Bernie Sanders' campaign. And the fact that he stayed
Which so far she's refused to admit has even happened. She's denied it.
I think if she
admits
admits
crazy.
that, and she admits the very positive impact Bernie Sanders has had on her campaign and her platform and her policies, I think that would do wonders.
Yeah, I think I would like to see that. I would like credit to be given to him. I don't understand why when they ask her, have you been shifted to the left? I get that she doesn't want to have to admit that she needed to be shifted to the left, but give him some credit. I mean, objectively, he's moved your positions. It's not a matter of opinion at this point. And you could get some credit by simply giving him some confirmation that what he did mattered. I think we know that it did, but she needs to say it. But then also, I would love to see just a couple of actual stated positions. This goes back to what you were saying before. Like, talk about your college plan. Maybe say something about TPP that doesn't make us think that you're going to sign it on day one. I don't know, little things like that I think could go a long way. Citizens United, which she has said she would.
She did, to her credit.
Yeah, the amendment to take it out. That's the sort of thing I want to see more of. And give us a timeline. Make us know that you're not going to flip-flop on this. I think that would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. But I want to thank you, John Haltiwanger, senior political reporter for Elite Daily. Elite Daily, I love to see you guys doing more political news.
Thank you.
That's been awesome.
Well, thanks
and
for
our
having us.
collaboration